Good morning. My name is Pradeep. Welcome to Orchard Park Secondary School, home of FRC Team 2056. If you have any questions throughout the day, please feel free to ask me. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Brendan Simmons, from 5406, presenting the Celt-X Superpit Design Experiences and Lessons Learned.
Okay, so I might move this for the sake of the viewers at home, because I'm going to stand a little bit further back. That's probably good there. Okay, welcome. A little bit about myself. Am I starting early? No. Okay, good. So I've been on Celt-X for a while now. I think we just finished up our 10th year, so that's pretty awesome. I helped. My name is Brendan Simons. I helped start Celt-X. I originally was on makeshift for a year. Kind of really loved it. They offered me the chance to start my own team, and the rest is history. Pardon me. In real life, I'm an engineer at a company called Stern Laboratories, which is a small little engineering consulting company. But this is really my actual career that I love, and the other one's just for money. Celt-X builds out of a facility called the Robodrome in downtown Hamilton, and that'll play into this presentation a little bit because it's some of the motivation for the Superpit. So I'm going to break the presentation down into 5 sections. Stop me at any time. This is the first time I'm giving this presentation. I actually wrote it last night, so I'm sure there's going to be things that are confusing and poorly practiced. So feel free to ask questions as we go. We're going to do some background. We're going to do a fair amount of time on sort of what I call market research, which is what we did when we decided to go ahead with this project, just looking at all the other teams that have solved similar problems and what they brought to the table. We're going to look specifically at the design of the solution we chose, a little look at how we built it, and hopefully I'll leave myself enough time to talk about the lessons learned. OpEx is a nuclear industry term for operational experience. It's the OpEx that we got from doing this, and if any of you are interested in building a super pit, you can learn from our OpEx. Okay, bit of a wordy slide, but this is a bit of a history of the project. It actually goes back further than 2024 when we built the thing. We started in 2015, as I mentioned. In 2017, we were already attending 7 events. In 2018, we went to 8 events. We've been doing 8 events ever since. So that's partially because of districts, but also all the off seasons we started going to. So that's a lot more than what we sort of originally started at, right? When you were doing 3 events in our first year, that's easy enough to clamber together enough arms and vehicles and things to get to an event and get that done. But when you're starting to do it, every other month, you start thinking, boy, there's got to be an easier way to do this. In that line, we conduct debriefs after every competition. So what's a debrief? We do no work those debrief days. We get the whole team together. We sit down in a room like this, and we ask 3 questions. What worked? What didn't work? And what can we learn from other teams? What other ideas are out there that we could do differently? So we've been doing that since 2015, 8 competitions a year. That's a lot of debriefs. A common finding at those debriefs in the didn't work column was that we forgot to pack X, whatever X was. And sometimes X is the same thing we forgot to pack like 3 competitions ago. So we really try as a team to be completely prepared. We don't want to ever go to a match and have some unforced failure, have something not working because we didn't prepare ourselves. So if a piece of chain is missing, if a commercial component, if a gear was missing, in our debrief, the notes always went, okay, well, let's add that to the packing list. And very soon, after a few years, that packing list got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we were taking a huge amount of stuff, and we still do take a huge amount of stuff to every competition. To do that, we needed a large crew for load in and load out. We would be taking something in the order of, 18 big heavy totes and a shelving unit to carry that. I'll explain that in a moment. Finding enough people to move that. It's the nice thing about being an FRC team. You kind of command a little army of students who work for free. So it's great. You can say like, hey, everybody take a tote, off you go. That's fine for load in, for load out. You've just given a hard weekend of work. It's 10 p.m. on a Sunday. Everyone's got homework. People are gone, right? I have a really strong memory of unloading at our old build facility, the Robodrome 1.0, which was next to a church on a Sunday night in a snowstorm. And we only had a few people, but immediately, about half an hour after we showed up, the church came into session and this parking lot completely filled, like double parked folks all the way around. So we couldn't leave for another 2 hours until the service was over. So like finding room, finding resources on a Sunday night is very difficult. Those debriefs also in the what can we do differently, what do we learn from other teams column, found a bunch of teams that were doing these things called Superpits. Okay. In particular, we'll talk about some of the good examples of that, but for us, a really formative experience was in 2015, we were down at the St. Louis Champs, and our pit was kind of kitty corner to a team called 1678, well known from California, Citrus Circuits, and they had these road cases that were pretty sweet. And particularly sweet about it was when they made it to Einstein, they, with two people, just kind of rolled their pit to the side of the field. Whereas when we went to competition, we would have to like say, okay, I want this and this and this. Oh, should we take that? I don't know. Okay, grab all those things, put them on a million different dollies, and everyone else take one, and we'll walk over there. And it was a big production. So just seeing the slick kind of pre-made case ready to go was pretty affecting. It was pretty mind-blowing. So this is the context. This is, I don't know if you guys can see that with the brightness of this projector, but on the left is our pit layout in 2018, but pretty much the same from 2015 through 2018, just got bigger and bigger. We have a toolbox, pretty big toolbox on the left, green, of course. We have a great big 6 foot wide by 6 foot tall shelving unit that was made of sort of almost industrial pallet shelving, because there's a lot of weight on top of that. Just getting that set up was a 45-minute job in itself. In the back, we have a banner stand made of ABS pipe, which looked pretty good, but again, took another 20 minutes to set up. We usually use the table that was given at the event. And you see, even with all that storage, we still have totes on the floor, which continues to be a problem to this day. As everyone who's been in FIRST knows, space in the pit is very, very valuable, very, very limited. So trying to go vertical to keep all our stuff was a priority. And then, looking on the right, this is us loading into McMaster in 2018. And we've now, to be fair, we were also taking another team in this load-in trip, but that's a 20-foot box truck that's nearly packed to the gills. So giant amount of work to get all that loaded in. So continuing the history, in 2022, shortly after COVID, one of our sponsors, a private couple who operate under the term Triple M Solutions, asked us, what can we buy you to help you with your team? What sort of 4 or 5 figure thing can we give you? And we were just like, whoa, that never happens. Thank you. When considering that, we're really lucky, and I do want to mention the privilege of this presentation that most, having been at the team for 8 years at that point, most of our basic needs are covered. We have a workspace, we have tools, we have a good amount of robot parts. So we weren't really looking for the basics. And if you come across $10,000 of yourself, Superpit may not be your first priority, but for us, some of the other priorities were taken care of. So we were looking at the long term. We've been at the team for 8 years. We wanted to go for another 8 years, maybe another 16. For that to happen, especially as, mentors have turnover and they get older and students change through, we need things that make running this big team easier, right? That's the goal. Sustainability. Another sort of offers that came at the same time that really enabled this project, BRH Mechanical offered free use of their trailer, and Putney's Auto Tech Center offered free use of their truck to tow it, because none of the mentors have either a trailer or a truck. And you'll see that a Superpit needs both those things. So those three offers let us actually think about a Superpit, which was great because that was something on our to-do list for many, many years. So in 2023, we started the design. We rushed the design just in the preseason, like in the December time period, December of 2022. Put an order out for some road cases. Those cases didn't come in till May. We were really hoping they were going to come in April and we will use them to go to champs. But it's just as well because it actually took us most of the summer of 2023 to build them. We did all the interior fabrication. So we got cases from a manufacturer, but we did everything inside ourselves from May through July. And then our Superpit debuted at Rainbow Rumble in Michigan on July 21st of 2023. And since then, we've taken it to a full year of competition, which we've learned a lot of lessons from, and I'll go over some of those in this presentation. Before I go into the specifics of our Superpit, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm in a monster movie. I haven't shown you the thing. I've been talking about it now for 10 minutes, but we're going to step back and look at some of the other solutions because I think there's lots to learn from the whole community, not just from us. I call this the original Superpit mostly because they coined the phrase. This is 973 Greybots. It was built in 2014. There are some earlier examples of Superpit-like things, but these guys really kind of nailed it. Everyone has been copying them since then. They made this cart, there's two that are mostly identical except for what's inside it, out of welded steel. Some other neat additions to this is that because they want to move this into a trailer, when you set up with a 9-foot tall cabinet, that's not going to go in most trailers. Most trailers are going to be less than 7 feet, some of them less than 6 feet. So they had their top shelf collapsible. It's telescoping. To move it up and down, they built in over here a set of gas springs that take away most of the weight, and then a big air cylinder with a tank of compressed gas. I don't know what it is, if it's carbon dioxide or nitrogen or just air, but they bring that gas bottle on board to lift that whole thing, because it can be pretty heavy. Once you've loaded that shelf up, you're talking probably 300, 400, maybe even 500 pounds of stuff on that shelf. So they solved it with pneumatics. But they got some other things that are really, really critical to what we were looking at. They've got lighting built in. They've got electrical built in. They've got integrated battery chargers down here. They have electrical outlets. They've got, of course, that elevating system. And they even have a small TV in the corner here for showing various things. They don't have a toolbox in there. They bring a separate toolbox, which I found really interesting. I also want to shout out to 1114. So we also noticed around the same time in those debriefs is 1114's pit. This has actually gone through several iterations, and if anyone's from 1114, they can add more detail because I don't know the full story. But one of the earliest